Well, welcome everybody to our first Magnification Call of 2021. We are fingers crossed that this year is going to leave last year in the past. And we are so excited to start this off right with Kingdom Organizer and our founder, Richard Paul Evans. Richard, take it away.
Thank you. There's a story that you might have heard. It's about a man who sits at the city gates welcoming travelers as they come in. And he's sitting there and a man comes up and with his caravan. And he said, "Tell me, what kind of village is this?" He goes, "Well, what kind of village did you come from?" He goes, "Well, people were really nice back there. They were kind, they helped each other, they were helpful. They had a strong sense of community, and there was a lot of love and compassion." He said, "That's exactly the kind of town this is. Welcome." A few minutes later, another man comes up with a caravan. He said, "Tell me, what kind of town is this?" And he said, he goes, "What kind of town did you come from?" He said, "Well, the town I came from, people were really selfish and they were dishonest and they were just awful people. And so we just wanted to get away from them." He said, "Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but this town is the same." Now let's take that story. Yeah, obviously the message from the story is obvious. We bring to the new town what we carry with us. And we could say the same thing about this new year. We have the sense we want to flee 2020. Some of you remember we started Kingdom Organizer. We had all this, we had all these signs made up, all these banners that said 2020 vision. And I want to tell you, it was a year of vision. I am tremendously grateful for 2020. I am tremendously grateful for what I learned. And I lost some friends and there were some really hard times. And I look at 2021, I think 2021 will probably be a year of loss. You know, I have people who will die this year. And it's going to be hard for that matter. But on the other hand, I am so grateful for the love that brings and the clarity that death brings to life. So let's talk about what did I learn from 2020, and I want to share this because I want you to have the same experience. I want you to, as your homework this week, right after this call, I want you to write down what is it that you've learned from this year, because we've had the opportunity to learn things that we couldn't learn otherwise. And I had some huge breakthroughs this year that I'm incredibly grateful for. So the first thing I learned is that the game board changes. Now, you shouldn't learn that after you're 58 because, spoiler alert, the game board always changes. Things are always changing on us. Sometimes they change a little bit faster. And what I didn't realize so much is that those who continue to play the old game will always lose. Could you imagine? My little granddaughter wanted to play Count the Chickens, and it's a cooperative game. No one loses, so we're playing Count the Chickens. And then in the midst of this, she wanted to change to play Candyland. What if we kept the same characters and kept playing by the same rules? Well, you can't play the same rules. They're different games. But sometimes we want to hold on to the old rules and the old games so bad, when the truth is that even though we're painting a different picture, that the canvas has changed on us, so we're painting a different picture, it can be beautiful all the same. It can be joyful, and the expression of that can be joyful. So I learned that the canvas can change, but it doesn't necessarily, as long as I change too, that it's okay. Because the truth is the canvas, the game's been changing my entire life. Okay, second, I learned that every challenge carries with it an opportunity. And what makes that opportunity even more accessible is that most people sit around and bemoan the loss of the change. Wow, as soon as things get back to normal, I'll be happy again. Things will be okay when it gets back to normal. Instead of to say, what is to be found in this opportunity? And I found some tremendous opportunities. I've been watching a really interesting documentary on Netflix called Odessa. Has anyone seen that? It's about these guys that are caught. They were trying to buy a submarine from Russia for drug trafficking. it's very interesting. They're interviewing these guys. What happens, this guy, he's a Russian immigrant, and he just starts to like, he wanted to live a bigger life than he was. And when the Soviet Union fell, while most people are in trouble and worried, he found opportunities. So he found out he could buy motorcycles for $200, which he flew over with someone, and he bought about $200,000 of motorcycles, which he turns into $3 million in a week. And so it just kept getting bigger and bigger until pretty soon the people he was selling motorcycles for, which were mostly the cartels, were saying, well, can you get us boats? Can you get faster boats? Can you get helicopters? And when he scored the helicopters, then they said, well, can you just get us a submarine? So he found out he could buy a submarine for $30 million. A submarine probably cost closer to 200 million, but they had a lot of them just sitting around in the Soviet Union. So a bunch of generals got together. We're going to sell them a submarine. Had they not been, their phone been tapped, it would have. And Diane, would you watch the people coming in the waiting room, please? Thank you. Had they not been tapped, they probably would have been smuggling in tons. They could, that one submarine, one trip could bring in 40 tons of cocaine. If you could imagine the amount of cocaine that would be flooded in here. The thing is, what I kind of admired about these guys is watching them, watching how they saw this opportunity. It's like, what made you think you could just go over there? And what they realized is that the game had changed. And so they start making up their own rules. And this is where we are. When you start making up our rules, say, wait, drop the old rules. They're not applying right now. Okay, the third thing that came up is that I saw a lot this year is the idea of pushing the cow over the cliff. And I want to tell the story again. I don't know if Doug's on the call. He actually brought it up tonight. I have a cow I need to push over the cliff. Michael, you had a cow you pushed over the cliff this year. But I want to share the story again, not for me, not that I want to tell the story again, but I want you to hear it because it's even good to remember, because this is a time that some of you, by the end of this call or by the end of tonight, you're going to think of what cow do you need to push over. So Shazia, have you heard the cow story? Okay, good. Okay, so this is actually going to be my book that's coming out this May, Ricky Evans the Great. The story's called The Little Cow. When I was a boy, I heard a Brazilian folktale called The Little Cow. It went like this. A master of wisdom was walking through the countryside with his apprentice when they came to a small, disheveled hovel on a meager piece of farmland. See this poor family, said the master. Go see if they will share with us their food. But we have plenty, said the apprentice. Do as I say, the master replied. The obedient apprentice went to the home. The good farmer and his wife, surrounded by their 7 children, came to the door. Their clothes were dirty and in tatters. Fair greetings, said the apprentice. My master and I are sojourners and want for food. I've come to see if you have any to share. The farmer said, we have little, but what we have we will share. He walked away, then returned with a small piece of cheese and a crust of bread. I'm sorry, but we don't have much. The apprentice didn't want to take their food, but did as he had been instructed. Thank you, your sacrifice is great. Life is difficult, the farmer said, but we get by. And in spite of our poverty, we do have one great blessing. What blessing is that? Asked the apprentice. We have a little cow. She provides us. I'm sorry, I saw someone just hop on. She provides us milk and cheese, which we eat or sell in the marketplace. It's not much, but she provides enough for us to live on. The apprentice went back to his master with the meager rations and reported what he had learned about the farmer's plight. The master of wisdom said, I am pleased to hear of their generosity, but I'm greatly sorrowed by their circumstance. Before we leave this place, I have one more task for you. Speak, master. Return to the hovel and bring back their cow. The apprentice did not know why, but he knew his master to be merciful and wise, so he did as he was told. When he returned with the cow, he said to his master, I have done as you commanded. Now what is it that you would do with this cow? See yonder cliffs, take the cow to the highest crest and push her over. What? Just do as I say. The apprentice sorrowfully obeyed. When he had completed his task, the master and his apprentice went on their way. Over the next years, the apprentice grew in mercy and wisdom, but every time he thought back on the visit to the poor farmer's family, he felt a pang of guilt and shame. One day he decided to go back to the farmer and apologize for what he had done. But when he arrived at the farm, the small hovel was gone. Instead, there was a large fenced villa. "Oh no," he cried, "the poor family who was here was driven out by my evil deed." Determined to learn what had become of the family, he went to the villa and pounded on his great door. The door was answered by a servant. "I would like to speak to the master of the house," he said. "As you wish," the servant replied. A moment later, the apprentice was greeted by a smiling, well-dressed man. "How may I serve you?" the wealthy man asked. "Pardon me, sir, but could you please tell me what has become of the family who once lived on this land but is no more?" "I don't know what you speak of," the man replied. "My family has lived on this land for 3 generations." The apprentice looked at him quizzically. "Many years ago, I walked through this valley where I met a farmer and his 7 children, but they were very poor and lived in a small hovel." "Oh," the man said, smiling, "that was my family. My children have all grown and now have their own estates." The apprentice was astonished. "But you're no longer poor. What happened?" "God works in mysterious ways," the man said, smiling. "We had this little cow who provided us with the slimmest of necessities. Then, enough to survive, but little more. We suffered, but we expected no more from life. Then one day, our little cow wandered off and fell over a cliff. We knew that we would be ruined without her, so we did everything we could to survive. Only then did we discover that we had greater power and abilities than we possibly imagined, and never would have found as long as we relied on that cow. What a great blessing from heaven to have lost our little cow." This is what I've learned. We can spend our days bemoaning our losses, or we can grow from them. Ultimately, the choice is ours. We can be victims of circumstance or masters of our own fate, but make no mistake, we cannot be both. So what is your little cow? What good thing is keeping you from being great? Everyone has a little cow. Michael, would you like to share your? Okay. Michael?
Sorry, I'm muted there for a minute. What was my little cow? Are you asking?
Yeah, would you like to share about your little cow this year? Did you push a cow over the cliff?
I did. I had a really great job, and it was with people that I loved to work with, and I recognized that there were times coming and that I needed to be doing something else, and so I talked to my employer and said that I needed to move on to bigger and better things, and it was scary, and I'm still reeling from that, but I think it's going to be a good thing.
Thank you.
So
It takes courage, doesn't it?
It does.
It takes courage to push the cow over. And yet that is precisely what happens so often in life. I had a good job at an ad agency when one night I woke up and realized I wanted more. I wanted to start my own ad agency, which I did. And it was hard. And we got by, but it wasn't what I was hoping for in terms of my salary, but I was fine and I was happy, and it opened the door to more and more opportunities and it led me to where I am today. So what did I accomplish in 2020? Again, just for those who have joined us late, I'm incredibly grateful for this year. This has been truly 2020 vision. I have had opportunities and open doors that wouldn't have opened otherwise. And I'm so grateful for this year. I honestly wouldn't change anything. So what have I learned? Well, I'm gonna take it by our kingdoms. Okay, first of all, Kingdom 1. I learned more about the nature of God. There's a really interesting story in the Bible. And so Christians, you can follow along. But for those who are not Christians, you can take it as still a moral lesson. Jesus is coming back to Lazarus. Lazarus, as you remember, was dead. He was the brother of Martha and Mary. And when he gets to Martha, she says, "Master, our brother is dead." And they're very mournful. They love their brother. They said, "If you'd been here, he wouldn't have died." And he said, he will live again. And she said, I know he will be resurrected again, but he's dead now. And Jesus said to him, I am the resurrection and the life. Okay. Then he walks into the house. And as he walks in, there's Mary, who I think he had a crush on. I'm just personally just throwing that out there. And Mary says, Master, the exact same words that Martha had said. Had you been here, our brother would not have died. Exact same words. And what did he reply? He wept. Now, it had never hit me before until I heard a wonderful pastor named Timothy Keller talk about this. Same question, completely different response. Within a matter of minutes, it's like, what? Now, if you think of the standpoint from the book in the Bible that he's about to raise him from the dead, why did he cry? It's going to go from a funeral to a feast. It's going to be a happy time. Why did he cry? I think there's a really powerful lesson here. With Martha, he showed his godhood. I am the resurrection. He came flat out. This is who I am. I am God. Why do you fear death? With Mary, he showed his humanity. He wept with her. This is important. The reason this is important to me is because I found out I'm really good at looking at God as a God. I have trouble with the humanity part of it, that he can put up with the humanity in us. I mean, I totally expect that God would show up in the cathedrals and temples of the world, not under the viaduct on Fifth South. But the truth is, he spent his time under viaducts. So to open up my eyes and to see more clearly what this has done is I felt his acceptance more than ever. And with this, I have found something else. I have found I like myself more. I have become a better friend to myself. And I'm starting to learn what it means to be loyal to myself. I had a conversation with my brother about what does it mean to be loyal? And why are we disloyal to ourselves sometimes? And so to be more loyal to myself, that has nothing to do with selfishness. It has to do with treating myself with the same respect that I would treat others with. And for some reason, we're able to put that aside. There are people who will take their lives who would never in a million years kill someone. But why don't they see that by taking their own lives, they are killing someone? It's by changing that separation there and saying no, by connecting with loyalty to yourself. And that means a certain amount of kindness. It means a certain amount of forgiveness. It means acceptance. And so this has been a year that I've become more accepting of myself. And I'm really pleased for that. That I don't have to have a pretense that I'm something I'm not to be likable or to be lovable. That's an important aspect that I hope all of you get to learn as well. So that's what I learned in my first kingdom. In my second kingdom, I found more time. Sitting at home, it was easier to find time with each of my kids. And guess what? I got to do what I like most, what most defines me. I got to do battle for my kids. Because in my heart of heart, I'm a warrior. I love peace. I love kindness. I love simpleness. But I am a warrior. And I got to fight with my daughter through a divorce and to be steadfast. And when she's crying and afraid, to say, I got this. I will be your strong part. That makes me so happy. When my daughter Allison is working on her doctorate and says, Dad, I don't know if I can do this. I might fail. To hop on a plane and fly to Texas and say, I'm going to stay here with you and celebrate you and love you and pray with you. And you are going to succeed because you did not come here to fail. And to watch her to get through this year with great grades, to watch her growth. But I got to do battle for my kingdom too. And how grateful I am for that. Was it easy? No. I had a complete breakdown after the divorce. My daughter finished her divorce. It's hard to be a warrior all the time. You know, it's hard to be that warrior. Michael Tyson, the boxer, said something really interesting. He said, all I want from a woman is for her to protect me. Now think about that. Michael Tyson, the most powerful man physically in the world, said, I don't care if she's 80 pounds, and she'll just jump in the ring and say, don't touch my man. What a beautiful sentiment from Mike Tyson. And yet I am grateful that I have a wife who actually will do that for me. And there are times that I have to do battle for my family, that I have to be strong and carry the world on my shoulders. And there have been times that I have carried it more than I believed I could carry. And then there are times that I collapse afterwards and I'm weak. I am grateful for both. Because without going through the pain of that battle, I wouldn't understand that I am sacrificing and am willing to give of myself. In Kingdom 3, I learned to value transformational relationships and how to judge them. That not all relationships are built the same. That some relationships are worth preserving, some aren't. It's been a very interesting year. I'm having people reach out to me, very influential people, famous people even, coming to me for help. And what's interesting is some of them I don't have any interest in working with. And I'm cordial to them, but I don't chase it anymore. Because there's two kinds of relationships. There's transactional relationships and there's transformational, as we talked about in our last call. And the transactional relationships are ones I look at for business, and we set very clear boundaries and expectations. But the transformational ones are ones where I open up my heart. And you need to be very careful, and they need to be few and very guarded when those come. Who are you going to allow those with? Because that can be very difficult. And sometimes we have to be very careful. It's like the story in The Little Prince and and the rose. You have to be really careful about those relationships. And so to define the difference between my transactional relationships and transformational. And I had some that I thought were transformational that were really transactional. And I had some that were transactional that I learned were transformational. And again, I'm grateful for both. In Kingdom 4, I learned that institutions are completely vital to what we want to accomplish. That it is the only way that we interact with the world. And so I learned some really powerful things. I took over one of our institutions, and I want to show you something here. And I have to be really careful because there's confidential information on here. I can't let you see. So when I decided, when God showed really clearly that it was my time to take over my charity, the Christmas Box House, to step back in, logically, it didn't make a lot of sense. And I told you this before, that the director said, hey, this is a horrible time. People are losing their jobs. This is a time that we need to hide, that we need to cut back on programs. They've shut down our donation centers. We won't be able to provide Christmas for the thousands of children who need us this year. They'll just have to suck it up, right? That was the message that was coming. This is not a year. We all make sacrifices this year. That logically, that kind of makes sense, right? It's a hard time. When people are scared, they don't know where they want to go. That's what, logically, it kind of made sense. But my heart told me otherwise. My heart told me otherwise, that this was a time to move forward. So I want to show you something, and I don't think I'll ever forget this. Put on share screen. This is the donations that came online. Are you ready for this? This was last December right here. Can you see that? This is this year. Okay, let that sink in. Instead of having our donation center open for the last 8 months, bringing toys in for the kids, when we came in mid-September and our new director, Celeste Edmonds, came in, she goes, open the doors. I loved it. Open the doors. We will be here. And we printed up signs, and it was awesome. And this is what happened. Donations flooded in. We're up more than 700%. By the end of the month, we will have close to $250,000 in our reservoir for protection, something we've managed to put nothing in for the last 20 years. Why? Because we believed there was more. We believed that kids needed to be served. So guess what? Every child was helped. Every single child. And our staff works so hard. They're so exhausted. We gave them the week off after Christmas, but we got Christmas to almost 3,000 kids. And guess what? We have Christmas for probably another 1,000 children, which is moving into the donation center next to the Kingdom Organizer. So we're building up a new system. So I'll talk to you about that, Michael, because we need to do stuff with shelving with all the toys, and they're quality toys. They're nice toys. And we're going to move them out as quickly as possible. What's happened on top of that is, because we are open to God and the universe and serving, the people are coming to us. We have one of our partners right now who is endangered. This will make you a little bit sick. They broke into a brothel with guns and extracted a dozen children. The youngest child was 3 years old. The average age of the child was 6.5 in this brothel. But we rescued more than a dozen of them. And now their partners who are doing rescues all around the world are coming to us to support them and to work with us and partner, because we've built such a powerful platform. God has opened the door for us to save children. In the big scheme of things, saving a dozen children isn't a whole lot. But we've helped more than 100,000 children. And before we're done, we're going to help millions. I believe that with all of my heart. And I see the doors open. That's where we're going. I am so grateful for 2020, because it wouldn't have happened otherwise. It never would have happened. What else happened? In Kingdom 5, I found new ways to meet people. So when we found that that I couldn't go out and do a book tour, that I couldn't travel to city after city, instead we started to use Zoom. Remember, the rules change. The rules changed. So we changed how we played. And Michael Sheen was part of helped me on the first run. And our first run, we did it with Michael Vay, and altogether we had close to 1,500 children altogether. And it was amazing. The one problem we didn't foresee is that on Zoom here, you ask questions, you can see on the side the chat, but when you have 1,500 children asking questions, it moves so quickly you can't actually read it. So it became a bit of a challenge. But we also found we just kept pushing, and we discovered things. I did a talk the other night on just online, and I had 50,000 people view it. We found new ways to reach out. You know, we reached out with PSAs. Diane has become a savant in public relations, as a publicist. And Diane's secret is her humanity. She sends them little gifts after they put us on. She thanks them. She creates relationships. So when we were way late to the game, we should have been asking to do PSAs for Christmas Box House, but we're having so much success that it's like, well, let's reach out there. What happens? What happened, Diane? Go ahead and tell us, because you got to brag about it.
Lots of success.
You got us some big shows, Noon News, the morning shows. How much do the morning shows usually charge?
Oh, over 1,000.
Like 1,800, huh? How much do they charge us?
Nothing.
Yeah, that's what happened. We had radio stations reporting, we're running your commercials constantly. And that's why those numbers spiked, because all of a sudden it's like we were reborn. and people saw us again. They wanted to do good. They wanted to reach out. And so we found new ways to reach out to them. Our billboard, we learned our PSAs, and then we took our PSAs and started running them online. And Facebook corporate reached out and gave us free advertising because they decided I was an influencer. And we used that correctly. And we kept building quickly. And because we're in such a short time frame, we were making changes almost daily, adding, correcting, building. And it just got better and better and better, which is why next year our goals are going to be goals that have never been accomplished by Christmas Box House, as we're ready to spread throughout the world. Well, actually, to the United States. We will be helping all around the world, but in a big way. So this is what I want from, what I want from you is joy. I want you to be happy, but this is my suggestion for you, what I would like you to do. I was going to add something. Because the rules have changed, let me point out something to those of you who are in their 50s or above like me. Do you remember when you were little and you would go to school? Do you remember when the week when The Wizard of Oz was going to be on the air? You remember? It was a big deal, huh? Do you remember when Charlie Brown Christmas was going to be on the air? Everyone at school knew it. You knew it. You were excited. You didn't ask what they were doing Sunday night because they were going to watch it. When the 10 Commandments with Charlton Heston was going to be on, it was an epic experience. And the next day at school, you would all talk about what you saw that night. There were 3 networks. I remember when Fox TV launched and we thought, oh, it'll never happen. Because I was buying commercials, I was in advertising for the 3 networks. How many TV stations are there today? Well, it's not even countable now because there are so many YouTube stations. There are millions. The rules changed. So everything has been breaking down on a smaller level, which makes everything more accessible, including books, which also makes it more difficult to get a big share. You just adjust with the rules. So what did I learn in 2020? What am I going to do for 2021? This is my advice for you. First of all, you need to understand something. Very few things I've done in my life have succeeded on the first go. If it does, it's a complete surprise. It rarely happens. But what I also find is that first failure is usually what I needed to get to the success. And there's no way around it. People say, the reward of not killing your children is grandchildren. We should have just started with grandchildren. But you can't do it that way. You have to have children to have grandchildren. And you have to have that experience to appreciate them as well. It's the way it is. You have to go through that process. Well, that's the way life is. This is the trick, okay? You need to know the difference between a step and a wall. One time in one of our conferences, we're talking, there was a guy who was blind in our group. And he's, well, imagine you're walking around with a cane, and we had these little barriers that are around to protect the wires and things that were being filmed and broadcast. And when he would hit it, he thought it was a wall. So he would turn. Well, pretty soon he couldn't get out of the room. Well, how many times do we do this? Do we hit something and say, oh, there's something here? And it's like, no, it's actually you just step over it. Or how many times is that step you're hitting, that obstacle, really a step that you need to get up on to take you to the next level? You can't get to new destinations using the same old roads. You can't do that. Okay, you need to make changes. And that's okay. It's okay to try those new roads, and it takes courage. And sometimes it takes pushing the little cow over the cliff. That's okay. But just recognize, just because you failed on something doesn't mean you failed in the long run. So as Thomas Edison said, from his 10,000 experiments on the incandescent light bulb, they said, you fell 10,000 times. He said, absolutely not. I know 10,000 things that don't work. Do you? He learned from the process. This is how my whole life has been. When I printed my first book, The Christmas Box, this overnight success that ends up selling millions and millions of copies. It actually, the first thing I published wasn't The Christmas Box. The first thing I published was a little book called Pizza Passport Plus. It was like we call a happenings book. And what it was is I had all the pizza places in town and all the Italian restaurants, and it was just Italian. Well, the thing never went well. One woman came in and gave me a check for $10,000. She took $10,000 and didn't sell a single one, and the check bounced. She brought them all back, all ruined. It's like I made enough money to pay for the printing. It's like that was a waste of time. It wasn't at all. It taught me how to print the Christmas box. That's where I learned how binding took place, how to emboss, the cost of embossing, the kinds of papers to use, different options. And I used the same printer for Pizza Passport Plus I used for the Christmas box. I developed a relationship. I started a radio syndication called Anytime, Anyplace. And I sent out to thousands of radio stations. I sold 2 syndications, just enough to pay the expense. It was almost like God said, look, I'm just going to just take care of you. You're not going to make any money. I don't want you to pursue that. I wanted you to learn this. What did I learn? I learned how to reach radio stations. So when with a limited budget, I'm trying to get the word of Christmas box out. I created $1 million of advertising with a few $1,000s and did thousands of radio interviews. How? I used the same thing I did for Anytime, Anyplace syndication. I sent out to the same radio stations, and this time asked if they wanted to give away my book. I was hoping for 12 stations. I had more than 1,200 stations that participated and generated $1 million of advertising in today's money. Okay, I learned from those experiences. So to look back and say, what did I learn in this year? I had such great things I learned in 2020. I'm so grateful for. I cannot wait to apply them. Now my big challenge is deciding which are the most epic things I can do. Because there's some really fun things I want to do. And that they just keep pouring in. I believe my reach is the biggest it's ever been. I hope you are having that same experience, that you are seeing it the same way. That you're taking what you learned and saying, what is my reach and my influence? And of course, living in accordance with the 5 kingdoms. So what is my influence? First of all, my loyalty and love and affection for myself. Not in narcissism. Narcissists don't love themselves. They actually hate themselves, which is why they work so hard to try to prove that they're of value. Okay? But true loyalty and love for yourself, because you are connected with the Supreme Source. Then to take that love into the 2nd kingdom and bless the lives of all around you. How wonderful. And then to move into Kingdom 3. And to look for transformational relationships, those relationships that are going to help you grow personally and that you can help them grow. And then into Kingdom 4, where in the institutions of your life, you make an impact into Kingdom 5, the world. So how do we do this? Well, this is what I'd like you to do. And I do, it's interesting. I haven't been getting calls from you to get refills, which bothers me. Are you getting calls, Michael, for refills?
Not as many as I thought, but I have sent out some.
Okay. I got a call last week. I guess I'm not the go-to guy when you want it. I got a call from Mark Eden. And he goes, Rick, I need a refill. I'm out. I need it fast. When can I get it? It was awesome. And I was proud of him that he uses it. So I've had a few of you reach out to me, but I fortunately have this great supply of it. So I'm constantly upgrading my refills. But this is what I'd like you to do. This is a great time this week, the week after Christmas, and this week right now, to say, what do we want this year to look like? And on a bigger picture, what do I want my life to look like? So let me give you a technique to use that will work really well. And I'll give you an example to help you through this. What you're going to do is use the 5 kingdoms. Okay, so you're going to say, first of all, Kingdom 1, and now write this down. Okay, Kingdom 1, what is my major vision? What is my strategy? And what is my tactic? Okay. So your first kingdom, what is my vision? What is my strategy? And what is my tactic? So let me give you an idea what this looks like. Okay, this is a a clear example. I had a vision that the Christmas box house would be on everyone's lips again. That people would, at least locally, would be talking about it again. And because of that, my belief was that if that happened, then we would get the donations, that we would get the power and the influence to help children. That we were, the influence we were losing. So my vision was to explode the Christmas box house again. Did anyone see anything for the Christmas box this season? A billboard, online, anything? Raise your hand if you did. If you're not in Utah, you probably did, but okay, yeah. My son-in-law said, he goes, I can't go online and not see the Christmas box house. I see it 3 out of 4 times. Okay, Alan, you're shaking your head. You saw it too? Yeah, we know the billboards are seen by more than 1 million people a week. And the truth is the influence of just being there. So that was my vision. The strategy was to reach that with as many possible outlets as possible with a very specific message. And the biggest message was just to show our logo that we're still here. But instead of saying we're still here, because that sounds kind of lame, and sounds that's coming from a position of weakness, we came out with the message, we've helped 125,000 children. Okay, that was the message we came out with. Did anyone get that message anywhere? Those who saw it? Good. Did it shock you when you saw that? Did it surprise you? It didn't, you, Alan. It surprised most people. It's like, what? And then we had got a really great story because and we used it on the news on 3 different news stations. And Celeste Edmonds, our director, she used it, and it was hilarious. The people were laughing because we found a way to take a story and make it powerful. By the way, I'm going to share something really cool with you. If not next week, the next week, about storytelling and how storytelling will change your world and how to do it in a way that changes the world. So you're going to love this. This has been a little side project I've been working on. It's totally cool. So anyway, the story is someone came up to me and said, do you have employees at the Christmas box house every day? And I looked at him like, all of a sudden I understood that he didn't realize the level of commitment we have, right? It's like there are children right now in all of our homes. Okay, there are abused children in our homes right now, this moment. 8:49, they probably are just playing and brushing their teeth, maybe taking baths and going to bed. All right. So when he asked me that, I looked at him and I said, no, we take the weekends off. The kids are used to being neglected, so we just let them run wild. It's kind of like Lord of the Flies. We come back and just pick them up Monday. And he just stared at me. Well, it became this joke. So Celeste would say this on there. It's like, well, the thing is, you hear that. It's a funny story, but you think, well, of course, they're there day and night. We have been open 24/7, COVID or not, for more than 20 years. Is that amazing? Almost 25 years we've been open, day and night. That's a big accomplishment. It's a huge commitment, but it also shows it shows a tremendous amount of compassion and caring. This is what's cool about all this, and this is how the universe works together. Guess what next year is? It's our, Alan, this is big, Alan Smith. It's our 25-year anniversary. Holy cow. We are jumping on the 25-year anniversary. We came in at the right time. So this is going to be a chance for us to explode nationwide and bless. I'm going to give you a little hint about a domain I acquired. It's really cool. I can't believe I got it. I swear God has kept a few domains for me because I go in and they make no sense. Like, for instance, Champion of Children's. We picked that up. Champion of Children. Champion for Children's for sale right now for $60,000. I picked that up for $11. Okay, Champion of instead of Champion for, and I prefer Champion of. So I get this when I picked up. Not in my state. Is that cool? In fighting abuse, not in my state. What a cool statement. Yeah, not in my city, $30,000 if you can buy it. It's not for sale. It's like, how did I get not in my state? I got it. And that's how we're going to roll out nationally. Very exciting. So as you're looking at your Kingdom One, what is my big vision? Okay, let's not use the word goals, okay? Because you've disrespected the word goals. We all have. We disrespected it by not taking it seriously. So what we're doing instead is what I want you to do. I don't even want you to be in that mindset because it's a mindset of failure. Do you agree? Do you agree? Okay. What I want instead is something very pleasant. I want a vision. I want something that brings a smile to your lips. What is that first in Kingdom One? What is my vision? And that vision might be being embraced by your loving source. It might be forgiving yourself for something that you did a long time ago. It's like, let it go. It's something that makes you smile. I want that vision. And then I want you to write it down, get it down. What is my vision? And there can be more than one visions. See, I need to respect my body more. I heard this really wonderful talk today about how people substitute substances for the source and realize I am guilty of substituting sugar. Sugar is a drug, and I use it as a drug. I literally do use it as a drug. If I could shoot it up, the needle, I probably would. And because we can put little happy things around it and you make it into candy canes. You don't make crystal meth into candy canes that I know of. And so we can make it a happy little thought. It's a freaking drug, and I use it as such. I need to be more loyal to myself. Doug Short, who came by tonight, brought some really fun ranch toys, Michael Sheen. You're going to love it. For Christmas, he gave me some crossbows. We can have crossbow competition.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds fun. Little did he know that 2 years ago,
Yeah.
I bought a crossbow target. It's because we wanted to play Walking Dead. Anyway, but I looked at Doug and I didn't recognize him because he's lost so much weight. He looks great. He's lost, oh my gosh, I think close to 90 pounds. And he said, you know what? It was something I had said to him about your future self thanking your past self. You know, your 2021 self thanking your 2020 self. I think his 2021 self thinks his 2020 self is a stud. I think his 2021 self is pretty freaking pleased. And it should be. If he's not, he should be really proud of his 2020 self for what he's accomplished. So, in that first kingdom, what are the visions? What makes you smile? And you don't have to write it now. Just write down that you're going to write it down because you want to meditate on this. My wife shared one with me that was absolutely beautiful. And Carrie says, I don't make goals, but there's one I wanted to do, and it had to do with me. And I'm still smiling. It was one of the most beautiful things I've heard in 37 years of marriage of what she wanted to accomplish. So what is your vision? Then write down what is your strategy? What is the overall plan to achieve that? If you want to feel that connection with your source, okay, what is that strategy? Now, I'm sorry, I did not actually finish my whole lesson here on the example. I was using the example of my vision with a Christmas box house was to get it seen everywhere. The strategy was to use whatever thing was available. Our tactics are very specific acts. So one of our tactics, Diane was one of our tacticians. I said, Diane, I would like you to contact all your media guests. And then we reached out and contacted one of our producers. And we went and produced a commercial even before we had any commercials. Before we had any airtime given to us, we actually produced the commercial first because we were under a tight frame. So Diane, what did they say? They said, sorry, we can't produce it. And she would say, it's produced. We have radio commercials for you. We have TV commercials. They were surprised and happy, right? Yeah. Go ahead. What did they say?
They were surprised. They were all for it. They ran with it.
Yeah.
We got a lot of airtime.
Yeah, they said, send it to us. Yeah. So that's a tactic. Okay, one of our tactics. So our tactic, a very specific tactic is let's get a billboard. So those who live in Salt Lake City will see a new tactic. We're changing the billboard in about 10 days. And what it is a big, massive thank you. Because our tactic is to use gratitude as a powerful force. And the O on the U is our logo. And then we say underneath it, it says, thank you for 25 years of protecting children. What do you think, Alan?
I love it. I think it's really important that people understand how long that you've been doing this and how long, somebody's been there to protect the kids, because I don't think people realize it. And I think that's part of why it's gotten kind of forgotten over the past few years, is that they just don't have an understanding of that. So I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I keep bringing up Alan because Alan has volunteered to work on a committee and to head a committee that is going to help raise our endowment. Oh, love it. Look at that. So, by the way, this would be a tactic, right? He's creating tactics. We had the goal to build an endowment. As soon as we did that, we then made a strategy of how to do this. We met with financial consultants, and then we started looking at the strategy. Well, let's find someone to help run. And Alan and I get in a conversation. So what is he doing now? He's looking at the tactics. Does this make sense to you? So this is how you're going to do it. So Kingdom 1, Kingdom 2, what is your vision? Is it to heal a relationship with a child? Is it to heal your marriage? Is it to heal a relationship with siblings? Or if not healing, is it to take it to a new level or to be there for them in a way that they need you? What is their Kingdom 2 vision? I mean, Michael Sheen has the best vision. I've seen him take that vision, turn it to strategy. When he talks about going out and helping his son move, that's a tactic. Okay, does that make sense? His vision was actually to rebuild a relationship. His strategy was to put himself into their lives, to offer himself to them. The tactics were the day-to-day things that he's blessed their lives with. Okay. Is that clear? Michael, is that a good example?
Yeah, that's such a great example.
Okay, that's exactly. So this is the difference, to understand the difference. Sometimes people just start with tactics, or they forget the tactics. They have visions, and this is what we call dreamers, right? They create the vision and then do nothing about it. Taking the vision, strategy, tactics. Okay, so Kingdom 3. What am I going to do with my relationships, my transformational relationships? Write them down. What do I want them to be? It does not have to be a lot. I think Facebook has screwed us up because this idea of friends. I have 6,000 friends on my page. If I don't know your phone number, you're not my, well, no, I can't say that because I don't even know Diane's phone number. We keep going through this. But if I don't have access to your phone number, what's a better example? If I don't know your parents' name, you're not a friend, right? I mean, if I don't really know you that well, you're not a friend. You're just a name. Your identity. I'm working with in Kingdom 4. Facebook, it's Kingdom 4, right? You understand that? It's an institution. It's churning. It's a Kingdom 4. So in Kingdom 3, what are those transformational relationships I want to improve? I have some relationships with some of my siblings. I do see them actually in more Kingdom 3, a transformational relationship. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to lunch or dinner tomorrow with one of my brothers who's in town. So what are those? What are my strategies? What are my tactics? Okay, Kingdom number 4. All right. What am I going to accomplish in the institutions? What institutions am I going to give myself to? And what institutions am I going to take myself from? What institutions are serving my first 3 kingdoms well, and which ones aren't? And then making those changes. So to really reach out and look at Kingdom 4 and the power of the institutions in your life, what institutions do I want to create or join? I love that we have so many people on this call tonight, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. I will probably take some of this content and actually go online with some of it without any kind of feedback or anything online on Facebook and see, and they'll probably have 20 to 50,000 people. So, but what is this relationship going to grow into? And it is going to grow. And it is going to evolve into something even stronger. Okay, then the last Kingdom 5. What is Kingdom 5 going to look like? What am I going to do to impact Kingdom 5? Now remember, you can't impact Kingdom 5 without Kingdom 4. for the most part. Pretty much everything goes through institutions. So what organization am I going to go through to impact Kingdom 5? What is my vision? The beauty of this is one of my lessons from this year, is that I realized as I watched what was happening with politics and things that are happening around, is that I have less control over things than I hoped I did. But it's okay. I have control over the things that I need to have control over. And I was able to protect my loved ones in Kingdom 2 and Kingdom 3. And I was able to grow the institutions. So for those who want to help me, for instance, in helping these kids across the country, let me know, please. Because Christmas Box House is a really cool institution. And it's going to get really, really cool. By the way, we now have a Black Op version of the Christmas Box House logo that will go on our military uniforms. Haven't you always wanted to say that? We have military uniforms. And that our military people are like really excited. They're actually using us to get into countries, which is cool. To save children. Some countries don't really like the idea of you coming and saving the children. So, all right. This is your plan. This is how we're going to move forward this year. But if you don't have that vision to begin with, not goals, but what is your dream? And, we always talk about the, the secret, right? About just put it out there, the manifesting. But there's a lot of reality to that as well. I'm not just mocking it. But I also know that just dreaming without scheming, so to speak. There were three of us who hung out as kids in this one neighborhood. And one day, one of the guys said, okay, Sean, you're a dreamer, Rick's a schemer. Well, for a 15-year-old, that was pretty insightful because I am a schemer. But I'm also a dreamer. And it's like, you start with a dream. What is it that you want? What is that big dream? Is there anyone who would like to share a dream for 2021? Something that is really strong in their heart that they would like to see happen this year? Just raise your hand.
I'll share, Rick.
Please, Joseph. Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, so I have this dream. I've been single for so many years, and now I'm 36 and single. And I've realized, going along that path, the Heavenly Father has kind of shared with me and explained, hey, you've been on this path to be able to help and serve these people. And so it's really become one of my missions to help single people become happy, because the only thing that keeps them unhappy a lot of times is feeling like they have to be married. And so, that kind of rolled into one thing. And now I have a podcast called Happy and Single that my goal, my big dream is to get a million downloads this year on that, and just help so many people, get out of that tunnel faster that I was in for so many years.
Oh, that's cool. That's my daughter and I, Allie, have been talking about this because she's in her doctorate program right now. And she's gotten some pushback. It's like, okay, you're a Mormon girl, and why aren't you married?
Yeah.
It's a painful thing for her. And it's like, well, it wasn't by choice. But it's like, but I am where I'm supposed to be. And she saved children's lives, and she's growing as a person. And it's like getting out of this mindset that an institution created. Because it was the institution that created that mindset. So Paula asked, how can you join or be an institution because of COVID? I used to help out in elementary school, but not been able to since COVID. This is where the game board has changed. We are not able to take people to come in and work with the children at the Christmas Box House. I've only been back there in the shelter 4 times since March, because restrictions are such that we really need to protect the children. But there's a lot of ways to serve still. And if you're not paralyzed from fear, because I do know people who aren't leaving their apartments and live in complete fear. It's like, well, fear will paralyze you always. So, but there are ways to reach out, and there are online institutions. Like Joseph is starting an institution. His podcast is an institution. And so that's cool. You found a way to reach out right now. And Joseph, you will never find a better time to do it than right now.
Well, and the interesting thing about it is, I think our source works on us over time. Our source is like, hey, do this. I was hand delivered. I was given the name and everything. And I'm still like, I don't want to do a podcast because I don't want to add one more thing to my thing. And it's like, just try it. And then finally it's like you try and you're like, oh my gosh, I actually like this. I really, really like this.
Nice.
And it's just funny how that works. And then, it's crazy how fast it can grow. Like,
How many
I
are
mean,
on your podcast right now?
well, so I think there was, I don't know how, I'm not sure like how to look up stats and everything, but from what I could tell, like I normally share my stuff on Facebook and in certain groups. And last week I posted it on Monday, but I didn't share anything until Tuesday. And I actually had like 25 people that had listened to it that day before I'd even shared it to all these groups. So there's got to be at least like 20 or 25 out there. I'm still learning about all this stuff.
No, that's fantastic. No, you have to understand, when I first started on Facebook, I remember I had 7,000 people. For someone who sold at that point, I sold 25 million books. It's like 7,000 people is nothing. And people didn't think I was real. It's like, how come you have so few? Because I never learned how to do it. So now it's growing. Now I'm 101,000 on my one page and it's growing. So cool. What I want you to do, okay, so this is something that Benjamin Hardy taught me, which is really important. We don't do well living in the moment. And I don't know what that means, because when I'm living the moment, I just want to have some of Paul's pecan brittle and sit back and maybe watch The Mentalist on Netflix. If I want to live just in that moment, it's like, it's not really a healthy place for me in some ways. My real sense is I have never been happier than I've been in last December and November. Would you say that's true, Diane, as long as you've known me? I've been just so joyful. I can't wait to get up in the morning. And it's because I'm engaged in a cause that's working and a cause I care about, and it's fun. And what it really is looking at our future self. What do we see that future self? What are we engaged in the future that makes the present workable? We know that in the concentration camps of Nazi Germany, that the ones who survived the daily rigors of starvation and labor and sickness, those in the concentration camps survived, who had hopes for the future, who were looking ahead of what was going to happen. And this is true. This is just as true in a normal sense. I'm watching someone close to me who's dying right now, and she just, there's nothing she's living for. There's nothing. She just, what are you living for? Nothing. I have nothing I'm looking forward to. And so that's why I say she will die this year. And she wants to die because there is nothing there. So looking forward in the head is really powerful. So it's vital that you have that vision, that dream. And please make your dream realistic. Follow the kingdoms, kingdom one first. You can achieve your kingdom one. There's no question you can achieve it. There's no question. And then to make them reachable. So, and Diane, I'm glad you said that. I love this idea. What institutions are serving me well, which are not serving me? It's a really important question to ask. But this is a year to find more joy. And so if I may just put that goal in for all of you on Kingdom One, that are you willing to be loyal to yourself? And take the time to say, what does this mean to be loyal to myself? And let me give you one little trick, little hack on that. If you're not how you would treat someone else, say, okay, I'm treating myself like this, and then turn around and treat it to someone you care about or someone you consider important. And are you willing, if it works for them? If you say, well, I would never say that to them, you just got your answer. Okay, does that make sense? Oh, you're fat. Well, if you wouldn't say that to them, then you're being disloyal by saying it to yourself. Okay. All right. I've given you a lot tonight, but I wanted to. I've been really excited about tonight's call and about talking. And we can talk more as you reflect over this week on what you learned in 2020 and how you're going to use it to define your 5 kingdoms in this next year. And what are those visions? What are those beautiful, pleasant, happy, smiling visions that you are filling in your life? Joseph, I hope you get up and get excited. When I came home from my church mission, I was up at the U of U and I didn't want to flip hamburgers. So I started a newspaper. And I was so excited that I would actually forget to eat all day long. I found myself at 1 a.m, like, oh my gosh, I forgot to eat. Now, anyone who knows me knows I like to eat. Hi, Diane. I'm sorry, I'm kind of a foodie. But the fact that I could go almost 24 hours without eating because I would forget to, because I was so excited. Find something that gets you that kind of excitement and that kind of joy. And so when you're thinking of your visions, and if you find yourself just smiling, you got it. You got it. And then take the time to say, well, what's my strategy? And let your source work with you, because especially when you're dealing with other people, like, trying to heal a relationship, your source understands it better than you do, and allow your source to reach out. And so to make 2021 a year of great vulnerability and authenticity, those should be really powerful words for us. And you can be vulnerable when you're strong in Kingdom One, because no one can penetrate that bubble. You're way too powerful. Okay. Anyway, God bless you all. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful year. Looking forward to hear more from you next week about what you're working on and how your goals are. So, but I love you all. And I want, when we come to this time next year, I hope your lives have exploded in the most joyful ways. And Joseph has put his podcast, his link there. Be sure to hop on if you're interested in that. And if you would like to be involved with the Christmas Box House in some way, and especially if you're in other states, just email me, because we're going to be looking for leaders in every major city in America as we spread out. So thank you all. God bless, and turn it back to our master of ceremony, Michael.
Thank you so much. And Rick, after listening to this tonight, I would like to revise my answer from earlier just a little bit. You asked me about pushing the cow over the cliff, and my life has exploded since then. Financially, we've been reeling a little bit, but as I look at that, we have never wanted once. Like, miracles have happened in the 11th hour where I was sweating bullets and car payments were due and such, and something came through. But in that time, I have been working very closely with my wife to develop our business into what we envision that to become, and our relationship has exploded. I have officially declared myself as an artist, and I have been welding like crazy, and I'm listening to audiobooks while I weld. And so I'm getting all this great inspiration, and I've got weld splatter on my Apple Watch, and it is so, I cannot wait to get up in the morning. And I am filthy from head to toe. And I sold my first piece of artwork, and I got commissioned on a huge public art piece that we've talked about. This has been absolutely incredible. And I want to just thank you personally for giving me the vision to make that happen. Because this is the program where I got that, right? So not only was 2020 the year that I rebuilt the relationship with my children, which has just been incredible, I've rebuilt the relationship with myself and with my maker. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael.
Yep. Thank you so much, everybody. We will look forward to seeing you again next week and hearing a full report of your awesome lives. Get out there and make it happen.
Awesome. Take care. Have a great week.
Good night.
Thanks,
Good
Rick.
night.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Night all.
Good night.
Thank you. Love you all.